Welcome to the board's preview of the 2024 NBA Draft, along with our free picks and best bets for the festivities. The NBA Draft is tomorrow, so we have a decent picture of where we think some players will end up, but there's still a lot up in the air here. I feel like this is one of the more difficult draft classes to call, with maybe not the most top-heavy talent, but certainly a condensed amount of talent for what seems like not enough picks for the first round for the amount of talent overall in the later ranges of the draft, but we'll do our best here on the board to make sense of it. I've got my co-host of the Pick and Roll live stream, PipsNBA, joining me here. My name is Jacob, if you don't know me, so let's get into things here. We're going to be talking about the players at the top of the draft primarily. Then we're going to be talking about some of the players in the middle of the draft that we're fans of that you should keep an eye on, and we're going to finish off with our best bets, so make sure you stick around to the end here. So, Pips, let's preface this by saying you are a Houston Rockets fan, but you also do like the Atlanta Hawks. So you should have a pretty good idea of the types of players in those ranges. But let's actually start with who you think the best player in this draft class is. Not who you think will go first, but who do you think is the best player in this class?
Yeah, I think the biggest upside for me should be SAR, and I said it in the last spoke about it, and I'm still staying by it.
Yeah,
I think he's
I gotta agree.
just one whole upside level above some other guys.
Yeah, I just think there's a bit more that he can provide, especially like in this draft. It's not super top heavy, but he provides that real presence defensively as a defensive anchor that I think a lot of teams would want to work with. That's kind of the way the NBA is trending. As much as it's about switchability and size, you still need that rim protection that he provides and the upside offensively as well from a floor spacing standpoint is really intriguing. But the entire story of the draft so far has been that Alex Sarr is likely headed second overall to the Wizards, and that took a lot of steam in the recent few days when the reports started emerging that he wasn't even working out for the Hawks. It seemed like there was relatively little interest to get drafted by the Hawks, and that doesn't mean the Hawks can't take him. If I remember correctly, Paolo Banchero was selected first overall by the Magic, did not work out for them once. He just ended up going there first, but the market has very much steamed in the last few days to the point where I cannot give out a bet for Alex Sarr to go second overall. That looks like the way it's going to go. But first
Yeah,
overall,
I think
yeah,
I
go ahead.
think that's mostly because of the SAR wants to play as a starting minutes, and at Wizards that's a lock for him. And at Hawks with Okongu, still Capella there, they want to play John Johnson at 5 at some points. So yeah, it's unsure, and it's unsure if they are going to trade Trae Young. If not, they are being win now mode, so SAR minutes will be low. So I think makes sense for him to want to go to those Wizards.
Yeah.
Like if you look at any teams in the league, like Wizards have the wide open 5 spot, like easiest position to fill with SAR there. So I think
Yeah.
that's the only reason like he's deciding to go this route.
I think this works out really well for the Wizards. I think they would have taken him first overall if they had the first overall pick. They're going to get him a little bit cheaper, and they're going to get him without the media attention of getting the guy first overall, which falls on
Yeah.
the Atlanta Hawks. And it seemed like for a few months now, Zachary Shea is the guy that's going to go first overall. Tough to really say where it's going, but that really seems like where it's headed. As somebody who likes the Atlanta Hawks, do you feel like this is a good selection, the best selection at number one, if it's not going to be Sar?
I I don't know like that. I don't like anyone out of the SAR for the Hawks. So I hope they can. It's difficult. The history has shown that it's difficult to make a trade in this type of like last 24 hours, and especially in top heavy picks. But I hope they somehow make it, because I don't like Zakari as a number one pick. That's
Yeah, he really does. He looks like he's going to be a good player. He's the type of
yeah,
player that teams are interested in. I mean, the NBA is always going to need shooting and defense. I think he scales well as a 3-and-D guy with positional versatility, but that's just not the type of player that typically goes first overall, honestly. Now, look, could this be a case Atlanta see a guy that just fits really well? Maybe. As I said, Riza Shea has been a pretty popular first overall pick even before the lottery, so it's not just the Hawks that really thought this of Riza Shea, but Yeah, this doesn't scream first overall pick to me. This is a strange one here. Nonetheless, I think he will do fine. I don't think he'll give you the first overall pick sort of upside.
I'll say borderline top 5 in most drafts. I don't think in any drafts he's talked about as a top 5 pick.
No.
And yeah, and even this is just situation. Like if Hawks take Sar, he falls outside of top 5 probably.
Not sure he goes. I don't know if he goes outside of the top 5, but I don't think he goes top 3. He might. Yeah. It'll be weird because nobody's really prepared for Riza Shea falling outside of the top 2. So if all of a sudden he's available at 3, does Houston kind of panic and go his direction? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Spurs would probably be his floor there. I think the Spurs would just say, okay, this is a good player to just take on here. But I don't know if the Pistons take him. And I guess Charlotte would have come a conversation at 6. But I do think in the end, it's so weird to say he's probably going to go number 1, but if he doesn't, this guy could start slipping in the draft. One thing I will note of the first pick, so it's now apparent that it's either going to be Riza Shea or Donovan Clingan. In the last hour, Clingan has taken a little bit of steam to go first overall. He was in the plus 350 to 400 range literally like an hour ago. And now I'm seeing plus 250 and plus 300 around. So I'm not sure if any news has come out there, but I will say I won't rule out Clingan going number 1 to the Hawks. Donovan Clingan has a wide range of outcomes for this draft. What are your thoughts on him as a prospect?
We spoke about it, and I said like my comparison is Valker Kessler. That's why how I see him. He was great in defense, but he played at a really good defensive team. So we don't know how it's going to look in the NBA. And some of the stuff he did great are kind of gone when he got to the NBA. So we'll see. So I'm not that high on him. So
yeah, he's been a weird one for me. I've always been a bit surprised by, excuse me, how highly he's been rated. But yeah, he just continues to be a decently popular candidate. And as I said, he's kind of taken some steam at 1. Not crazy, but I think that's something to just take a look at. Regardless, let's move to pick number 3. You are a Houston Rockets fan. This one has been pretty apparent for a while now, but do you think Reed Shepherd is the best guy for the Rockets at the 3rd overall pick?
Yeah, I mean, historically good shooting for him, and he plays good defense.
Shooting is insane, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, not great volume. I think he has a huge issue with low usage on scoring. He's always like pass first, so he didn't have a huge shooting volume. But his numbers, I've watched a lot of videos from him making his shots, and the shots were not that easy. Like there are some very deep threes for him, and I like the fit with Amen Thompson because he can spot up a lot greatly and share the ball handling with Amen Thompson. So for the future, I think the fit is great for the Shepherd with the Houston.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, I have his stats up here. He shot 52% from 3 in the entire season of college basketball. He has an effective field goal percentage of 68%. The problem is he's 6'1" and has a small wingspan. That's the only problem here. But I think why he can be passed first is because of his shooting gravity. Like you have to pay so much attention to him shooting that you just naturally have to leave guys open.
But he was a great creator for others, and he can create. He can spot up. And the fit is great, and he hustles. Like he's like a hustle guy. So yeah, size is the obvious issue. Like if he was like a bit taller than no one, he will be like for sure like easy.
Number 1.
Yeah. So
he's a good defender too. I have the stats up: 3.1 steals per game, but it's not just steals. Like his time on steals and blocks is good. But yeah,
he's good in lanes, on ball. So yeah, I just think like. Yeah, and I like comparisons. So someone put the comparison of Derek White. He's a bit smaller guy, but everything he does on the court looks like Derek White. And I like that kind of player for my Houston Rockets. Especially, I said, like, key thing is if we are building the future with Şengün and Amen Thompson, this is the guy you want on the team.
Shooting.
Yeah. Shooting,
Yeah.
he can create some when someone sits, and he can shoot and he can hustle. So you can have Amen as like a big guard, and then you can afford to have him as a small guard. He's still good on defense. So yeah, I mean, all the things. I looked into this. I didn't look into it like when the last time we spoke, but today I spent like an hour looking into Rich Shepherd, and I liked everything I saw. So I'll be happy with him going at third.
I think this falls into place pretty well for Houston at 3. I think there's a lot to be happy about here. You mentioned player comparisons. Do you have one for Reza Shea? Because the popular one online is a little bit it's a little bit funny. Who's your comparison for Reza Shea?
I don't know. Like
so the popular online one is Harrison Barnes, which is just look, Harrison Barnes is a fine player making $20 million a year, but for a first overall pick, I just found that a little bit funny. With all due respect to Harrison.
Yeah. That's, and I didn't even spend much time thinking about that one, but I'm just looking into it, and I did see someone mentioning Harrison Barnes into like
it's just for
the
a first
Ringer
overall
has
pick.
the Ringer has Tobias Harris, which is also not
that's
great.
Actually good. That's actually probably even better because it gives a little bit more self-creation upside. But listen, we think Reza Shea is going to be fine. We're just for a first overall pick. He doesn't scream first overall pick, but that's just the reality of this draft, which could make things. Go ahead.
In recent years, the number one picks. It will be very interesting to have this name up there with so many guys.
Victor,
even when you look at the Fultz, like coming into the draft, he was insane prospect.
Yes.
We can't say the same thing about this one. So
yes. Let's while we're here, let's keep people going with some picks here. Reed Shepherd, you like Reed Shepherd enough to take a bet here, actually, for him to go third overall, right?
Yeah, that's minus 135 at DraftKings. That's the best number I could pull off.
By far.
You are the better. You are better doing it. I think it's minus 180 at FanDuel, and FanDuel is probably the best one usually. And after the stuff with Shams, I think they should be the best with draft stuff. So yeah, I think minus 135 is too low. I think this should be like minus 175, 80, minus 200 probably. The only thing is like there's still a slim chance that the pick is traded, but I doubt it. We are too close now to trade this stuff.
Yeah. So what could throw this? The only thing that could throw this off, Reza Shea's big favorite to go first. It'd be if Klingon goes first out of nowhere, which I won't call it out of nowhere. It's just be like, it'd be shocking, but it would be like, okay, we could have seen that coming. If that happens, I'm not sure if Houston even go Reza Shea at third, but they could. They obviously could.
I had some ideas of Reza Shea going with the Spurs because he just looks like a Spurs player, like some player that Spurs would take. Yeah, he's that kind of guy, but they need a point guard, so probably bet on that one.
Yeah, so Reed Shepherd, third overall, minus 135, DraftKings. Pips brought this up. I really like this one. It's off market here as well. It's minus 180 at FanDuel. I believe it was minus 150 at 365. It's an off market price here. So, and I just think Reed Shepherd's just going to end up here. At number 4 here. I don't want to go necessarily in order, but you mentioned point guard for Spurs at 4. Does this lead you to believe that Stephon Castle is going to be the 4th overall pick?
Probably, but
that's what
I don't know.
Probably.
I before the injury for Topic, I thought like Topic is 4th pick.
Yes,
that's like the easiest pick for Spurs. Like just fits it well. I have a friend, buddy, who is a fan of the Spurs, and I think he said that he wants Dillingham there.
Not at 4.
Which is a huge reach, but we can Spurs pick taking a long shot at the Spurs pick is probably the best idea, because if you look at throughout the years, they pulled on some crazy ones, unexpected ones. I'm not
if you're
saying Dillingham is going there. It's plus 250, which
if
is
you're
crazy number.
250 for Dillingham at 4,
Yeah.
he's like he's way higher than that. Are you sure it's not 8? No, 80 is not. Rob Dillingham to go 4th overall. Yeah, he's like plus 2,500. You mean 2,500?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
2500.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry,
Okay.
sorry. That's just language barriers there.
No
But
problem.
yeah, probably they have 8 pick as well, and
That's where I think they might consider Rob
plus
Dillingham, but
850, plus 850. But if they don't take,
Castle.
yeah, so maybe some like trying to look that they don't take Castle there and pick someone else at the 4, and then pick Rob Dillingham and at the 8. So combined, like it has
Like
correlation
Buzelis.
there. Yeah, it will be
Buzelis
a
at 4.
huge number. Yeah, it will be like gamble, but we will get some crazy odds if that becomes true. And I think Rob Dillingham will be available at 8, and
Yes.
that's not a reach. When you need that kind of player, that's not a reach. So
Not a reach at 8. Not a reach at 4,
yeah,
but at
yeah.
8, I think he'll be available at 8. And I think they could still go Castle at 4 and get another point guard at 8, because I think they'll like Devin Carter a lot at 8 alongside Dillingham.
Can we just take a second? I know it's a bit of the
Off script.
current stuff. Yeah, but is there a Collier? Is that how you pronounce it? Collier.
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 Oh, Collier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had it. Sorry.
Collier. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see like they have it. They have him at 18 to 20.
Yeah.
Most people. I don't think it will be a huge reach to take him at 8. He's a great guy. I will gamble on his future. Like the best player in the entire draft. I watched like today. I spent 6 hours. I watched like 20, 25 players. The best guy I've seen is the first step, like getting to the rim. Like no one is even close, in my opinion, with Isaiah Collier.
You're right. He can get to the paint at will, but he can't shoot. He can't pass, surprisingly. Even though he has so much gravity on drives, he can't pass out of those drives. He's not a good defender. Isaiah Collier, about 4 or 5 months ago, was the projected first overall pick, and now he's projected in the low 20s.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I think 8's too high because I think Rob Dillingham is there, who they should like. I think Devin Carter is there at 8, who I actually would mock going to the Spurs at 8th overall. I think they're going to just love what Devin Carter brings. 6'3" point guard with a 6'8" wingspan. Unbelievable defender there. I think they could even take him with Castle and still be okay because Devin Carter shot the ball so well in college.
Yeah. That's true.
But I agree. I think a thing to look out for in the draft is if the Spurs pass on Castle at 4, they are going point guard at 8. So get something in, whether it's Carter or Dillingham, sprinkle in something on the Spurs to take a point guard at 8. That's a good way to approach it. But I do think, and it's becoming increasingly likely that Castle does go at 4. I still think they could go point guard at 8 along with that pick. But you're right. If you're going to take a flyer, take it at 8 because the Spurs, like, do they like Solana enough to go 8th overall? Topic, do they still like him and think they can wait out any sort of injury concerns? I agree that there's different ways to approach the Spurs at 8th, but I think that's too high for Collier. I know you said you liked him, but I think that's just a bit too high for him. Yeah, we will see. Let's go to the 5th because Rye Pro in chat said, who should the Pistons target here? I'll go ahead and go with my first pick here.
Yeah.
I think that Buzelis goes to the Pistons at 5. They haven't seemingly loved a lot of players in this range, but one guy they have liked is Buzelis. Another one is Cody Williams. I think that's a bit high for Cody Williams. He's been mocked there in a few spots, but I think Buzelis 5th overall is becoming a more increasingly likely outcome for him. I think there's a chance that the Spurs like that type of player. Buzelis is somebody with good size, good upsize. He's not really terrific at anything specifically right now, but I'll pull up what I have on him. He's just decent for his size, like decent athleticism for his size, overall good feel for the game in his handling, his passing, his vision. Like, this is just a type of longer player that the Spurs have liked to work with in the past. So I think him at 4 makes some sense, but I think they'll go Castle, and I think that leaves it wide open for the Pistons to take him at 5th overall. So one of my bets for today is going to be for draft position, Matas Buzelis under 5.5. Best I saw was -120 at DraftKings. And
I can see like for him like stuff with Franz Wagner comparison. I saw it a lot.
that's my
I just
comparison.
think I don't know. Like I knew, you know what I sent you before we talk about like big frame, poor finishing at the rim, poor shooter, questionable, poor handle, and they have his leap as one of his strengths, and he's a white dude in NBA. So I do agree that Pistons will probably take him. I like the pick. I'm just not as high as on him as most of the people. So that's my 5 cents there. I get it. Like the thing for Matas falling to going pick makes sense because like other guys
They can't take a guard or a big.
they can take a guard or a big because that's their field there. So yeah, probably needs to go for some wing guy and Ron Holland, questionable shooter, can shoot, so they can play him with Cunningham. So yeah, Mata's probably the best one to go there. So it's a fit. Just picking for a fit there. So
I'll spare Rypro and say I actually do like Buzelis at this. I actually do like his upside. I just like that he's got a lot of good tools to work with. Now, is Detroit the best place to get the most out of Matas Buzelis' development? That I'm not so sure about, and I kind of feel for him going there. However, I do like the player, so I think this would be a good spot for the Pistons. Not a great spot for Matas himself, but yeah, under 5.5 draft position. I can't see Detroit passing if the Spurs leave him up there at 5. So -120 is good for me there. Anywhere else inside the top 10? Do you have an interesting player you want to just discuss here?
I don't think so.
I'll bring one up. Dalton Connect,
Sure.
really interesting player to me. I think anywhere from 4 to 9, that's not Detroit, will be interested. I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah,
4 might be a bit high. Pistons have not been interested, apparently, but 6 to the Hornets, 7 to Portland, 8 to Spurs, 9 to the Grizzlies, 10 to the Jazz is definitely on here for any of those teams. No way this guy falls out of the top 10 for me. He's on the older side, 23 years old, but they're like, this is probably the best shooter in the draft and
yeah,
one of the best scorers in the draft. And for a
yeah.
draft that has lacked a good bit of talent overall, you're getting a player ready to play from day one. You can't say a lot of the guys in the top 10 are ready to start from day one, but I think you can say that about Dalton Connect. I know you're a fan of him as well, Pips.
Yeah. I actually forgot about him. I sent you before the show. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's the best offensive player currently in the draft. It's interesting for the Hornets. Yeah, they have like Lamelo and could work.
So
Portland, I adopted for Portland with Shadon Sharp, and like they are just top like 1 to 3. They are filled with young players with good upside.
fair enough.
Don't think Spurs are taking him. Yeah, even though it makes sense some degree,
Oh,
but they
I don't
need a
know.
point guard.
I think they could go from at 8 if they take Castle at 4. I think
And
Grizzlies and Jazz will look at him a lot at
yeah,
9 and 10.
yeah, does do have similar guy with Kejonte George with like not the same, but similar young guy, but they can work together. So probably 9 to 10. I mean, Bulls could use him as well. They need
Oh,
shooting like
if he
crazy.
falls to
So I
11,
think
he's gone.
yeah,
I don't think
yeah,
he goes that far.
yeah.
So I personally mocked Dalton Connect at 6 for now. I think the Hornets, if Castle's not there, if Castle's there, Hornets go Castle. If Castle's not there, I'll say they go Dalton Connect. But yeah, he's one to look out for. A month ago, this guy was mocked 19th ish in the draft. Now he's a top 10 pick, and a lot of people are big fans. I'm also a huge fan of Devin Carter. Same thing. When I first was when I was going through some players for the Raptors at 19th overall, Devin Carter was a guy I was in love with. He was projected to go like low 20s. I'm like, they got to take him at 19. Now everyone loves him. His floor is probably 12 to the Thunder, I think, but it's looking like he will be a top 10 pick, but a little bit late to get in on any action over there. Anything else in the first round? Any players you're a fan of? Any specific players you want to discuss as
In
possible
the
betting
first round,
targets?
yeah, I in the first round, as I said, I like Kyle Filipowski
Yeah.
as the player to go top 20. I think we have a good price on FanDuel at plus 500 for it to happen. I kind of like his, like his. I watch his highlights and watch his video and watch his weaknesses and strengths, and I think that guy can go to Cleveland Cavaliers at 20 at least, if not higher. Everyone I respected in the rap community have him 15 to 20. So I think getting plus 500 on this guy in a draft that is very uncertain, and some guys can go up from nowhere. I think most of people have him around 25, which makes sense. But plus, I'm going for the price plus 500. And I saw like out of 10 mock drafts, I saw him like in six to be in like top in between 17 to 20 area. So plus for plus 500, I will make it a long shot here.
Yeah, I can see. So there's a interesting range from 15 to 17 in the draft where it's win now teams. It's Miami, Philadelphia, and the Lakers. All teams looking for more polished players, which I think Filipowski is. That being said, I feel like there might be some better options in that area. I could still see him 18 to Orlando. I personally can't see the Raptors going from at 19. I could see 20th as
Yeah,
well to the
I,
Cavaliers.
I think
Um,
Cavaliers should be the guy, the team that's going to take Filipowski.
Especially if I really want the Raptors to take Carlton Carrington 19, and I believe the Cavs will take him if not. So, especially if Carrington goes 19 or higher, because he's been catching interest, then I think 20 becomes a play. However,
Yeah,
I will say for Filipowski on my end, I personally am not that huge on him because the defense worries me a bit too much. The athleticism worries me a bit too much. I saw DJ Burns bully him in the NCAA tournament on NC State. I think there's a wide range of outcomes here. I agree that plus 500 is probably a decent look to go top 20, but I also
I just
think there's a chance Filipowski doesn't even go in the first round.
yeah, sure. I love he can shoot, and but I love that he how can he attack of the catch and attack the lanes and provide 4-5 and versatility mostly. That's what I'm looking
Yeah.
at him, and he can bring a lot of, and he can fit in a lot of different teams, and he can be yeah. I just watched the tape and liked a lot for this guy, and that's it. And also he made some good reads. A lot of time, like man, he's getting off the catch, driving, and then like gets attention. He's good enough to make that pass out, kick out, read the defense and stuff for a big that can shoot, that has the size, that can finish inside, that can beat the guys off the dribble and stuff. That's a lot of versatility. And yeah, he needs to like it's a project, but I think I'll take it as a 20th pick. So
Fair enough. I can see a team liking what they have here, and I think maybe a team could play him at the 4 a bit more out the gate before they start to put him as a 5. And I think that'd be a bit easier for him to adapt there. But like the high post playmaking role probably is a good fit to see him because he can actually shoot out of that spot as well. Another guy you wanted to mention was Deron Holmes. Now, this is not one where we found a market to look at. Maybe as we get closer to the draft, this is an interesting one. But you and me both really like Deron Holmes to go in the first round. That's
sure.
probably a consensus at this point. But I don't know if there's going to be like if an over under on his draft system comes out, I would struggle to see an over under where I wouldn't like the under, because I think the Knicks will really like him at 24 or 25. Um, but I think the lowest he will go, the absolute lowest he will go, is 28th to the Denver Nuggets. But I know you said you liked him as well.
I mean, Wizards can take him as well. I mean, for sure, they lack front court, so
Yeah.
for sure. Uh, Maybe even Bucks, because I think they are saying they are looking to trade Brook Lopez, so that could open up a lot of space for them. And
Yeah.
he's a shooting big that can defend, and that fits well with Giannis and overall what they are trying to do. Yeah, Knicks can for sure go 24, 25th there. So
Yeah.
I like him to be like in that range. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I can see
I
what you're
think
saying.
I think his use. I don't know how to say, but he has a great potential to be a rotational guy, easy, like in this league.
Oh yeah.
He has all the skill sets, so he's a like safe bet. I think like very high floor for him.
High floor. I can agree with that one as well for him. So a player to look out for if some props become available for him. Not sure. I'm not sure how low people are going to go with props. Hopefully, at the time of the draft, that becomes a bit
Yeah.
more available. But yeah, I'd be a fan of Holmes going to some, or just big. I can see teams becoming big fans of Holmes in the next, as we get closer to the draft. He's started to rise up a lot of draft boards for good reason.
A very interesting guy. Left for me, I sent to you. It's Tyson, Jalen.
Yes.
I think Jalen Tyson.
Jalen Tyson, yeah.
Yeah, when I watched his tape, he looked like similar to Kejonte George stuff for me last season, when like he was like projected terrible for what I've seen on the court, and turns out he was one of the better rookies last season, and as a young guard, which is always very difficult.
Yep.
And I see similar stuff with Jalen Tyson. And now in a very weaker draft class, he's projected to go late first round, and I think he should be in the first round. And looking at talent and the stuff he can do on the court, I think similar stuff to the my Rockets pick last season when our guy fall so low because
Cam Whitmore.
Yeah, same stuff. Like there was some off-court stuff, like he's some garbage talk there, and he falls down a lot because of it. And I think I heard something similar to Jalen, and maybe that's the reason he is so low, because I think 29th, actually 30th, is very low for him. I think he'll be like one of the underrated picks on this draft.
For what people are, I guess, a little bit afraid of is he played on I forget what team he played for, but his team finished 13 and 19. He was very, very high usage. So if he's in that range, he'll probably have to scale down a bit. But what I like about him is that he's very physical, a lot of size, and he can score, and he can create his own shot. I personally have him mocked to the Nuggets at 28th because I think that he'll give him some scoring pop off the bench that they've kind of missed last season. I can see him going with a more high upside guy, but I think Tyson is more prepared from day one to be potentially a contributor because he can score. He's got the size to compete at the NBA. So
I mean, he can go 29.
Like him higher.
Yeah, I think he can go to 29 as well. So
yeah, I was gonna say I can see him going 29 to the Jazz. I can see the Celtics potentially liking him. I could see him going higher if a team earlier
I can see
20s.
Raptors going for
I think it's a bit high, 19, but if he's available at 31, I would be
31. Yeah, 31.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with him at 31, alongside some other guys. Another player to look out for, Ryan Dunn. I think he's like a lock to go 24, 25 to the Knicks. The only problem is I think if Ryan Dunn's draft props are listed, it'll be over under 24.5, which is dumb because the Knicks had the 24 and 25th pick, but they might trade one. But I think the Knicks will take him regardless. So that's another draft prop to look out for. All right, let's finish off with the rest of the bets that we have. I want to go back up to the top of the draft. We're gonna go back up top. We have we both have a similar pick, but the one that I have different is Donovan Clingan to go over 3.5 in the draft. Basically, he has to go 1 to not go for this bet to win. Wizards going Sar at 2. If there's a shock and Sar goes first, then look, we're cooked here. But every sign is pointing towards Riza Shea, Sar, and Reed Shepard. Unless something changes that, like, I don't know. The Rockets won't draft Clingan because they have Alperen Şengün. Wizards look like a lock to take Sar. Yeah, the Hawks could surprise and take Clingan, but I don't really think so. I would have said it started the day to sprinkle someone Clingan go first, but yeah, over 3.5 seems like the way to go here. If Riza Shea goes first, Clingan's not going top 3, like period. It's very likely to be Sar and Shepard. This could look bad, but I don't think this is priced accurately here. Honestly, I struggle to see where Clingan actually ends up in the top 10 because looking through, I think like fading Clingan might be an interesting look here because the Rockets don't need him at 3. There's been some noise about the Spurs pairing him with Wemby. I think that's dumb because Wemby's clearly better as a 5. The Pistons are not taking a center. The Hornets are an interesting one. They could ditch Mark Williams, go with Clingan, but again,
I don't think
they have to bail on their current center.
I don't think he's better than Mark Williams.
Neither
I don't think he's better.
Portland, where he's mocked the most to at 7th overall, have DeAndre Ayton. The Spurs, again, don't really need a center. And then at 9, that's where I see the proper fit for Clingan to the Grizzlies, who need a center. But I struggle to see where Clingan ends up. I think fading Clingan in a lot of ways is an interesting maneuver, unless there's a trade. If somebody trades up into these spots, well, now Klingan's going pretty high in the draft. But I think a very safe way to play a fade on Clingan is over 3.5. So he'd have to go 4 or later. And again, like, unless he goes first, he's not going second to the Wizards. He's not going third to the Rockets. So over 3.5 for me here. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'll hate if the Hawks take him. So I hope for a fact, like, yeah, Wizards are locked in Sar no matter what. Unless he goes first, yeah, but that's not going to happen. Then the Rockets are not getting Clingan with Adams and Şengün. They invested in Adams, so no way. So yeah,
they have Adams
that makes
as
sense.
well. I forgot about that. Question here from Leo says, do I expect any trades top 10? If Klingan's off the board, I would look at a potential Grizzlies trade. It's tough to predict any trade, but I can see a team going for the 7th specifically because Clingan is still there. Same could be said at 9 if Clingan is not there. So if the Grizzlies don't have Clingan there, I've kind of struggled to find a good mocked player to go 9th overall to the Grizzlies because, like, I think Ron Holland makes sense if Klingan's not there. They might think about dealing him, but I'm not super convinced about how much they're going to like him there. If Cody Williams is available, I think they'll take him, but I don't see a lot of players the Grizzlies should really like at 9th. So I would look at the 9th and 7th as being tradable picks. But trades are always hard to predict. I would say don't expect any trades. But I'd say if there were going to be trades, those would be the situations in which a trade could materialize. Back on Clingan. Now, if he does go first, things go crazy. The player who's going to drop, and it could drop quite a bit, as we said, is Riza Shea. So me and Pips, same idea, but different bets here. I personally have thought about Riza Shea. If he doesn't go first, do the Rockets pivot and take him at 3rd? If so, plus 1,000 odds at FanDuel for that. Pips thought a different way and said the Rockets probably won't take him either, so Spurs would take him at 4. I think 4 is his floor. If he doesn't go first, he'll go 3rd or 4th. And 4th overall pick, that's plus 600 to go to the San Antonio Spurs in that position, or whoever. I mean, there could be trades. Whoever goes 4th overall.
Isn't he like, okay, probably Spurs not passing on him, but like Pistons will have like
Pistons should take
celebration
him.
day, celebration day, if he falls to the fifth.
Now that would be a great fit for the Pistons.
Yeah, that would be amazing fit. Yeah, the best
But
fit probably in
I
the
don't
top
think
five.
Spurs. I don't think Spurs pass, and I would
Yeah.
wonder if the Rockets would pass there. You may be a bit more in touch with me there, but we both like Riza Shea. If he a little bit of a change here on 1,000 at FanDuel for Riza Shea to go third, plus 600 to go fourth. Whichever one maybe you prefer if you're watching here. That's all I have for betting. Anything from you, Pips, to add before we wrap this show up?
Yeah, I mean, this is the draft where you probably should gamble on some long shots because it's like usually you know everything before the day before the draft. You know most of the stuff, and you love some guys. I don't love anyone on this draft honestly, and I won't be surprised if we see some huge swings. Like I think this is the probably year where mocks are the most off because it's so difficult to predict. So average mock draft probably when you like count 1 to 60, how big they are missing on average. This should be the year when they miss the most. So yeah, gambling on some long shots is probably the best way to approach this draft because I don't think this minus 200, minus 270, so some lower odds have value because it's uncertain. When things are uncertain, you
Yeah.
should go for long shots. So
Like
I
Sar,
think that should be the main
Sar's like
approach.
minus
Yeah.
700 to go second, 600 minus 600 to go second. I would absolutely not play that.
Yeah.
I will remind people that 2 years ago, the morning of the draft, Woj said it was going to be Jabari Smith first, Banchero third. That changed right before the draft. Well, it didn't change. Woj was wrong. Perhaps some bettors in the community were aware of Banchero going first, and there was a bit of a battle all day. Pretty legendary day in sports betting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Last year, the day of the draft, Woj and Shams disagreed on who would go second overall. Shams reported Scoot Henderson 2, Brandon Miller 3 right before the draft. Woj reported Brandon Miller 2, Scoot Henderson 3 right before the draft. So even the best reporters don't even know, like, within an hour of the draft. So it's very difficult to find any sort of locked-in predictions for the draft. That's my warning here. Oh, you know what? Before I recap all the picks we have today, I did want to get your opinion on Zach Edey. He has a wide range of outcomes here. I don't know how much you've looked into him. He is Canadian, but he's tough to call here. Personally, not huge on his abilities. However, it's tough to teach 7'4", 7'11" wingspan, and that could attract some teams. Where do you see him landing?
I am not huge on his as a player, but when I see he's like mocked in like 17 spot, that makes sense.
I
I
think
don't
his
know what.
floor is 19. I think if he's there at 19, Toronto would probably go for it.
I think, yeah, probably, but I can see 76ers with no good backup for Embiid. They could go with Ide at 16. That's how that's the one I can see. I don't think Miami will like that kind of player there. I don't think Portland will take with Ayton there. I don't think they are taking it. Kings for sure not. So that will be too high. So the realistic spot probably 76ers.
What about OKC? Just become an absolute defensive monster of a roster. I don't put it past OKC in this spot. I think the Caruso trade has changed some things.
I think they are looking always to have mobile. Like that's the thing with them. Like they are looking, they are always willing to sacrifice some rebounding to be mobile and to be like versatile. So I don't think that fits. There is a fit for Zach Edey there. Like
Okay,
he's one dimensional. So
He's
I
so
don't think
hard to call.
I honestly
He's so
can see
hard to
him as
call.
a backup. I think backup 5 for Embiid should be the.
That's a good spot. Yeah. I like that as well. All right, let's get to all the picks that we have from the show today. How many do we have? We had, I guess, 6 technically, but pretty much it's 5 here. First of all, Reed Shepherd to go third overall. Specifically, we got that minus 135 at DraftKings. That one's from Pips. I am going to play Matas Buzelis under 5.5 on draft position. That was minus 120 at DraftKings. Kyle Filipowski, Pips wants to play him to go top 20, which is plus 500 at FanDuel. Donovan Clingan, I'm playing over 3.5 in his draft position, minus 110 at Bet365. It's tough to call where this market is going to go. Like I said, today he's kind of taken a little bit of money to go first. That could knock this one to maybe even like a plus 100. But I think minus 110 is still, I don't think you're going to get much better, if anything. So I'd still play this now. And we both like Reza Shea on a flyer to go not first overall, but to go third at plus 1,000 or fourth at plus 600. And I think that will do it here. So things to look out for. If the Spurs pass on a point guard at 4, they'll probably take one at 8. If Donovan Clingan's gone before the 9th overall pick, the Grizzlies might consider trading that pick. So kind of think about who teams would want to trade up for in that spot. Portland may be a candidate to trade at 7. I think Portland also a candidate to trade at 14. I think OKC a candidate to trade at 12 still. But guys look out for in the draft later on. Deron Holmes, Jalen Tyson. For Pips, it was Kyle Filipowski, also Isaiah Collier. So a lot to consider here. I will be live for the first round for at least the top 10 picks of the NBA draft tomorrow. So tune in on the Board YouTube channel at the start of draft. I'll probably be live half an hour before the draft starts, and I'll be live for the top 10 picks, and we're going to be bringing in some special guests for that one as well. You guys do not want to miss out on. So if you got value out of this show today, please make sure you hit the like button, and make sure as well you are subscribed to the Board for all this great content we have coming your way for the offseason, and we'll see you again next time for some more content.